Hey, howdy, hey y'all, Leanna here. Welcome to part 5 of my palette collection and declutter video series. If you have not seen parts 1, 2, 3, and 4, I will have them linked up in the iCard. Let's jump right into it. In my last video, I thought I was done with the ends, but I have this NYX Professional Modern Dreamer palette. Would you believe I have never used a NYX palette before? I ordered enough products from the NYX website to do a full face, and because of that, they sent me this palette for free. I think these palettes normally run about $35 on their website. So I am obviously keeping it because I have not used it, because I am going to be doing a full face of NYX products in a video, and it's a very pretty palette. I'm quite excited to try out NYX eyeshadows and see how they perform. Look at that ring. So I am keeping this. That brings us into the P's, and this is Pacifica. This is the Animal Magic palette. I picked this up, I believe, on Amazon because I loved all of the animal symbols on the back. Pacifica is a cruelty-free brand. I should have been saying that all along about the different brands. But the shade names are all of the different animals, and I thought that that was super cute. I did try this palette. I do want to try it again, but this may end up in a future declutter. I also have this Pacifica Love Stoned palette, Natural Minerals. It is a beautiful palette, and it has all of the different stones for each of the corresponding shades, and it tells you what the different properties of each stone was. I love that because I love stones and all of the energy and healing properties that go along with them. So I am going to keep this palette because I have not yet used it, and I probably will keep it whether I like it or not, just simply for the packaging. Next we have this Pixi by Petra. This is Mixed Metals, and I have swatched this palette. It's a very pretty palette. It's been a while. I do not remember whether I liked it or not, so I will be trying this palette. That's perfect for the fall, and it may or may not end up in a future declutter. I have another Pixi palette. I like to not got that open. That is a beautiful palette. I do not know if I'm going to keep this. I think I am going to declutter this. And now we're getting into my Pat McGrath Labs palettes. This is the Mothership Mega Celestial Odyssey palette. It is a very pretty palette. I do not believe that I have used this palette. I think I have swatched it, a few of the shades. So I will be keeping all of my Pat McGrath Labs palettes. The next Pat McGrath Labs palette is this Mothership Rose Decadence palette. It is a very pretty palette, and I have not used this either. It's a very pretty palette. I got this palette on sale. I will be keeping this and trying it out. I have 2 collab videos within the last couple of months using my Pat McGrath Mothership palettes. I believe that this is Bronze Seduction. It is a beautiful palette, and yes, I am keeping it. This is the Midnight Sun palette. I just did a collab. Both of these palettes were in collaboration with Dion from Dion Loves Makeup, and I absolutely loved the look that I created with this palette. It is a beautiful, beautiful palette. And last I checked, this palette was on sale on her website for $77. I will link that down in the description box just in case you're interested in checking that out. It's regularly a $128 palette. And then I have this little bitty baby Pat McGrath palette. I believe I got this off of her website too, on sale for like $14. This is the Ecstasy Sublime, and I don't think that I have used this. The next palette that I have is this Pure Defense. This is an anti-pollution shadow palette. I'm not sure where I got this from. It's a very pretty palette. I have not used it. I see that that shade right there has got a crack in it. I may have gotten this from Marshall's, but I'm not 100% positive. It is not ringing my bell, so I think I am going to declutter that one. And then I have this Pure X Raw Beauty Christie palette. It is a beautiful palette. It's double-sided. And I have used it. It's been a while since I've used it, but I am going to keep it and use it again. Next, I have this Rare Beauty palette. I love the packaging. It's so pretty. And that's what the palette looks like. And I really like this palette, but I have swatched it. As you can see, my fingerprints in there, but I have not used it at all. So I think I'm going to declutter this one. And then I have this little Revlon palette. It is the That's a Dub palette. And when I saw these little palettes in Walmart, they were so pretty. But I have tried and I don't get a whole lot of payoff from this palette, so I am going to declutter it. Next, I have the Persona Identity palette. And this is a beautiful palette. I have not used this palette at all, but I know that their formula is amazing because I have another palette that I have used. So I am definitely going to keep that. And then I have the Identity 2. This is the palette that I have used. Beautiful, beautiful palette. I am definitely keeping this. Look at this purple. Beautiful. Beautiful fall palette. And next I have the Spoiled Cosmetics. I believe that I got this palette in an Ice Cream Beauty box. This is the Romantic Getaway. It's a super cute little palette. Very pretty colors. This shade here looks very interesting, but I have not reached for this palette at all. The packaging seems to be extremely cheap, so I am going to declutter this one. Next are my Sigma Beauty palettes. This is the Core de Rosa. That's the Shade Saver. It comes with a brush, and it is a beautiful palette. I have not used this palette yet. This is new to my collection. I'm quite excited to use it. Sigma formula is absolutely amazing, so I am definitely keeping that. And then I have these little 9-pan palettes. I absolutely love these. They are amazing. The formulas are amazing. The color stories are amazing. This is the Ritzy palette. I'm keeping that. This is Ivy. I'm keeping that. This is Spicy. Isn't that a beautiful fall palette? I'm keeping that. And this is Hazy, and I love this one. Look at those shimmers. What a beautiful, cool-toned palette. And I am definitely keeping that. I love the Sigma formulas. Next is this little sleek palette. It's called When the Sun Goes Down. And it is a beautiful little palette. I have used this palette quite often, and I really do like it. It's a beautiful color story for fall, so I am keeping this. Next is my Sugar Drizzle palette. When I saw this palette released, I knew I had to have it because of the dragonfly. If you know me, you know I love dragonflies. And I love the saying, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? I actually have that on a tin on the wall behind me that was sent to me by my very good friend Andy. Look at this palette. Oh my gosh. Beautiful, beautiful palette. And I have swatched it. I have not used it yet. It is on my to-do list. If you could see the shift. I don't know if you can see the shift, but it is absolutely stunning. And I cannot wait to use it. And then I have my Sydney Grace collection. These are 2 new palettes that they sold during the Christmas and July sale. What a beautiful fall palette. This is Mountain Trail. So, so pretty. I love the Sydney Grace formulas. They are outstanding. I am definitely keeping that. This is Where the Wild Things Grow. So pretty. Look at that purple. I love it. I'm keeping that. I'm keeping all of my Sydney Grace palettes. These are the Sydney Grace palettes where they did a collab with Temptalia. And this dog is her dog. She designed these palettes. They are absolutely beautiful. So of course I had to have all 3. This is Radiant Reflection. Look at how beautiful that is. Oh my gosh. And I have used a few of the shades in some of these palettes. This one is On the Horizon. Beautiful, beautiful. Look at this blue. This one is Quintessence. Oh, look at those greens and the grays. They are just absolutely beautiful palettes. I am keeping those for sure. This is my Sydney Grace Enduring Love palette. I believe that I got the palette in deep. They have a deep and a light in most of their palettes to be inclusive for all skin tones. And I prefer the deep. And look at how beautiful this palette is. This is one of my favorite palettes. Sydney Grace formulas are outstanding. I absolutely love it. Love it, love it. And then I have the Tiny Marvels palette. This is Sydney Grace collab with Mel Thompson. Look at how beautiful this palette is. I won this palette from Crystal, Real Lady Electrician. And I was so excited to get it because I loved Mel Thompson and I loved Sydney Grace, so couldn't go wrong with either one. I am definitely keeping that one. And now moving on to Tarte. This was the little Tartlet collection I believe that they put out last holiday season for Christmas. This is Little Bloom. Beautiful. This one is Little Toasted. That's a beautiful fall palette. I love these little palettes and the shape of the pans. And this is Little Juicy. Look at all those berry tone shadows. Just beautiful. And they smell really good too. I'm keeping all 3 of those. This is the Young and Wild Cruelty Free palette. I love the packaging on this one and the pretty shade saver. And look at this fall palette. Oh my gosh. Beautiful, beautiful palette. I love it. I am definitely keeping this. This is the Tarteist Pro Remix palette. And I had looked at this palette and looked at it, and I was not going to buy this palette. And then Andy, at Andy Does Stuff, bought this palette and she used it or she swatched it or something, and then I had to have it. And then I'd be daggone if she didn't declutter it when she did her declutter video. I was like, what? What is happening? It's a very pretty palette. Look at this purple, black, glittery goodness right there. I like the Tarte formulas, so I am going to keep this for now. And then, of course, I had to get the Man-Eater palette. This is new. And it is so, so pretty. I haven't had this very long. I cannot wait to try it. I love the embossing. Very nice packaging. I love it. And then I got this Gilded Glamour eyeshadow wardrobe, I think it is called, from Tarte. This is new and limited edition. Beautiful packaging on these. The packaging on these feel like the Man-Eater. They're very nice plastic. Look how pretty that is. Oh my gosh, those shimmery, glittery goodness. This is the Glamour, and this one is Gilded. And it is so pretty. I love it. I'm loving those pinky, rosy shades. And the gold, bronzy. Very pretty palette. Very pretty for fall. And of course I just got both of those, so obviously I'm keeping them. This is the Balm and the Beautiful. This is the Balm Cosmetics. I got this in one of my boxes, and it has this little flap to keep it closed, and it has the holes so that you can pop the shadows out. And they're very pretty, but this is not something that I will reach for. It just does not speak to me. So I am going to declutter this one. And then we have this palette from the Cream Shop. This is Desert Springs, and this is a very pretty palette. I attempted to use it. It's a nice fall palette. It's not very pigmented. Would be perfect for a beginner, but this is not something that I will reach for, and I'm going to declutter this. This is the Beauty Crop Mojito palette. And OM to the G. Look at how beautiful that is. When I saw it online, I had to have it. And I have not used it yet, but it is so, so pretty. So I am definitely keeping that. And now moving into my Too Faced palettes. This is the Sweet Peach palette, which is not a new palette. It has been around for quite a long time. It is my daughter's all-time favorite palette, and she told me that I had to have it, so when it went on sale for like $24, I ordered one for me and one for her because she had hit pan on quite a few, and it was quite a few years old, so I need to mail hers to her. I have not used it yet. It definitely smells like peaches. I'm not sure how I feel about putting scented eyeshadows on my eyes, but I'm going to give that a try because Brandy likes this palette so much. And one thing that I do like about Too Faced palettes is they include these little inserts and give you ideas on how to actually use your palettes. And then when this Cinnamon Swirl palette came out, for whatever reason I had to have this. Look at how pretty it is though. This is a nice fall palette too. I have swatched it, but I haven't really used it. It definitely smells like cinnamon. I am going to keep this. This chocolate bar palette was the first Too Faced palette that I received. I think I bought this at Marshall's and actually unboxed this in my very first YouTube video. And I haven't really played with it a lot. It seems to me like that I was not crazy impressed. It still kind of smells like chocolate, but not like it did. I may try using this again to see if I like it any better now that I have a little bit more experience. And this may end up in a future declutter. This is my last Too Faced palette, the Natural Lust palette, and oh my gosh, this palette is so pretty. It is a very soft, light palette, but it is just gorgeous. I love it, and I am definitely keeping this one. This is the You Can Be Spotlight palette that my son sent me from Amazon in an Amazon box so that I could do an unboxing on my channel. And this palette performed fairly well. As you can see, though, it looks like some of the pans are hard panning. It is a really pretty palette, though. But I feel like I have all of these shades in a better formula, and I know that Christopher won't mind, so I am going to declutter this one. And then I have this little Sunset Skies palette that is Ulta Beauty that I picked up when I was in their store the other day. They were having a sale, and this was on sale, and I thought it was super cute. And I just want to try Ulta shadows to see how they perform. So I will be keeping this to use it, and it may or may not end up in a future declutter. And then I have my Alien Cosmetics, which has rebranded to Unearthly Cosmetics. This is the Not Normal palette. It was one of the first palettes of theirs that I got. And this palette lives on my vanity. I never take it off. It is a beautiful, beautiful palette, and the formulas perform amazing. It is just an amazing palette. I absolutely love it. It is phenomenal, and now I'm going to put it back on my vanity where she belongs. And then I got the Leather and Lace palette. This is a nice heavy palette, and it is amazing. Look at those grungy fall colors. Tell me that is not absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. I think that I will put this over next to Not Normal to go on my vanity because, yeah, I think I need to be using this for fall. Definitely keeping. And then I have this Alien Cosmetics In the Dark collection that I purchased that I have not done anything with. It's still in the box. It is so beautiful. Let's pull the palette out and see what that looks like. Oh my gosh. Look at how beautiful that is. Look at how beautiful that is. These two almost look the same on my monitor, but in person they do not. That is gorgeous. And why does my camera not want to focus? Let's swatch that. Oh my gosh. Look at how pretty that is. Yeah, so I need to take this out of the box and actually use it. Alright, y'all. We're almost done. We're getting to the end. We're into my Urban Decays, and this is the Urban Decay Prince palette. Such a pretty palette. I just love it. I love it. It looks very soft, and I don't know whether I'll ever use it, but I had to have it. I just love that. And then we have my Urban Decay Naked Wild West. Everybody wants to be naked in the Wild West, right? This is another beautiful fall palette. But like I said, I love the Urban Decay formula, so I am keeping that. And my Naked Cherry, beautiful palette. I'm keeping that. And my Naked Honey, which I have used a little bit. Very pretty. As you can see, the brush is gone. I loved the brush in this palette. I am keeping that. And my Naked 3. I got a lot of Nakeds going on. Look at those cool toned shades. I am keeping that. And then, was it Prime Day? I don't remember what the occasion was that this palette was very cheap on Amazon. I had no desire for this palette, but then I saw somebody use it and it was stunning. So I'm excited to give that a try. I'm not super crazy about the packaging. This may or may not end up in a future declutter. And the Naked Reloaded. I was super excited to find this at a good deal. This is a beautiful palette. I'm very excited to use this. And I love the packaging. It is soft. Very pretty palette. I am definitely keeping that. And now we will start with my little Viseart palettes. This is the Petite Pro, and I have used this palette, and it's okay. I wasn't super impressed with it, and I think I am going to declutter this one. Here's the Petite Pro UN, whatever that means. I have not used this palette. And because of how the other one performed, I have no desire to. So I am going to declutter this one as well. This is the Minette something. I can't pronounce that. I'm not even going to try. This is so pretty. I have not used this one either. I do want to try to use this one. That is a pretty fall palette. But this might end up in a declutter video in the future, but for now I'm going to keep it. This is the Violet Inditu, I think is how you pronounce that. Beautiful, beautiful palette. I love those purples and those cool toned browns. I am going to keep that and try it out. This is the Viseart Trist, and I have tried this palette and I was not super impressed with it. I could not get the shades to build up the way I wanted them to, so I'm going to declutter this one. And this is the Viseart Bridal Satin. I'm going to open it because it's very shiny. Such a beautiful palette. And I got this palette on sale. These palettes here run for $80. And I got a very good discount on this one, so I picked it up. I'm hoping that it will perform well. I'm going to keep it and see. Might end up in a future declutter. This is the Viseart Neutral palette. And I have not used this palette. I did swatch it, but I have not used it. And this as well is an $80 palette, and I just have no desire to use this palette. It looks boring to me now. So I'm going to declutter this one. This is the other Viseart Neutral palette, and it does have some pretty shades in it. But again, when I bought this palette, it looked very pretty to me, and now it just looks boring. So I got this palette and this palette at a very steep discount because these are both $80 palettes, and I'm going to declutter this one as well. Moving on to my Violet Voss palettes. This is the I Love You Forever palette. It is a beautiful palette and I love it. And I absolutely am keeping this one. This is the Pinky Promise palette. And to be honest, I'm not sure. Do I want to keep this? Do I want to let this go? And to be honest, I'm not sure whether I want to keep this or not. I'm undecided. Undecided. So if I'm undecided, I probably do not want it. So I'm going to declutter that. This is the Violet Voss Coral Crush palette. And it is a beautiful palette. And I believe that I bought this for a very reasonable price on Ipsy. I see some very unique shimmers in there. And I think that this would be a beautiful spring summer palette. So I think I'm going to keep it for now. But it may end up in a future declutter. And now moving into my Zoeva. This is the Basic Moment. And it is a basic moment, absolutely for sure. It's a very pretty palette, and I love those cool toned shades. But this is not a palette that I'm going to reach for. However, I may depot these because like these shades here I use to set my eyeshadow primer, and I really do like that cool tone shade there. So there may be a few shades in here that I would keep. So I am going to declutter it from my inventory, but I may depot it and keep a few of the shades. This is the Zoeva in Taupe palette. And it too is a very pretty palette. Again, it's not something that I'm going to reach for. There may be a few shades in there that I could depot. I don't know if I will depot it or just offer it to somebody. But either way, I am going to declutter it. And my last Zoeva palette is the Spice of Life palette. Now this palette has some color to it. That's a beautiful fall palette. I just got this palette, so I'm excited to give it a try and see how it performs. So I did the Z's before the W's, but these are a few Wet n Wild palettes that were given to me by some friends of mine in a box for me to do an unboxing and a look when I first started my channel. So these shadows actually performed very well, but they have a very special meaning. So I will be keeping these. And then the last few palettes that I have are these ZC palettes. This is Fireworks. It is a 16 pan palette, and I mean, look at that packaging. Love the kitty cats. I love the Shade Saver. I don't know about these shadows though. I'm not super crazy about the color story. I love the embossing, how they have the little kitty cat whiskers, but is that enough for me to keep it? I don't know. I think maybe I will try to use some of the shadows to see how they perform, but I don't know. Am I keeping this just for the packaging? Might end up in a future declutter. We shall see. This one as well, beautiful sugar skull. It says Fireworks as well. It has the beautiful Shade Saver on it. Love the little skeleton embossing. Not crazy about the color story. Totally bought this for the packaging. I will think on it, and it might end up in a future declutter. And I do have these two little 9-pan palettes from ZC. And I do like the color story in these. They're very pretty. I love the embossing on those. I don't know what the palette name is because everything is in Korean or Chinese or whatever it is. That's a pretty fall palette. Look at how pretty that is. I love that embossing. It's beautiful. It has a little squirrel. It has a little squirrel there in the center. So pretty. The little pumpkin on the front. So I'm going to keep both of these and use them to see how the shadows perform. And this is my Gimme Glow Cosmetics. Oh my goodness. These are phenomenal. Phenomenal. Not only am I keeping these, I have lots of room to expand, and I do intend to do that. I think Andy and I are going to try to use our Gimme Glows in an upcoming video. I don't know what's wrong with Biscuit. What is the matter, Biscuit? What's the matter, buddy? Huh? These are phenomenal and they're very affordable. I love them and am definitely keeping those. So that's it. We made it. I know that this video, Part 5, is going to be longer than the other ones, but I wanted to knock it all out. So here are all of the palettes that I am decluttering in Part 5. There are 14 total palettes here, which brings my declutter total to 54 palettes. I am absolutely blown away that I willingly decluttered 54 palettes. I'm serious when I tell you that when I sat down to do this series of videos, I thought, nah, I might declutter 5 because, as you can see, I love my eyeshadow palettes. I have a lot of palettes, and I had absolutely no desire to part with any of them. So let's see how many palettes that leaves me. So I started with 323 palettes. I decluttered 54. That leaves me with 269. I realize that's still a lot, but I collect palettes. That's what I collect. I don't feel bad about it. I love my eyeshadow palettes, and I will be collecting some more. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for Part 5 of my palette collection and declutter series. Make sure you go check out 1, 2, 3, and 4 if you have not done so already. That will be up in the iCard. Before you go, make sure you show that like button some love. And as always, I'd like to remind you that makeup is meant to enhance the natural beauty that you already are, and we are all beautiful at any age and any size. Find something to be grateful for today, pull your makeup out and play with it, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye-bye! Christopher, it is 6:40 a.m. and I have been up all night doing these videos. My brain is all shimmer and I don't know what I'm talking about and I don't know what to tell you, and you know, Mama feeling a little cray-cray right now. So I know what you can, like I said, declutter your fishing lures, and then you can tell me how many you had and how many you decluttered and how many you got left. That has nothing to do with makeup, but whatever. Okay, Mama loves you, boo.